A potential junk food ban could be coming soon for 3Squares Vermont recipients, and it's cooking up a bit of a debate in Montpelier. The idea would restrict people from using their benefits to buy certain foods and drink items deemed unhealthy. ABC 22's Matt Holderman spoke with state leaders and hunger relief advocates about this. He's now live in the newsroom tonight. Matt?
Yeah, Lauren, that's right. This is all coming on the heels of Vermont getting promised almost $200 million from the federal government to improve rural health. But one of the government's asks in return was for the state to look into how they can make SNAP options healthier. And like many other states, Vermont is looking into this junk food ban as a way to comply. But hunger relief advocates argue there are better solutions.
How are you, trying to bring some more healthy components?
That's a question the federal government is asking that Vermont leaders are trying to answer when it comes to SNAP benefits. As part of the Trump administration's Make America Healthy Again agenda, they are asking states to find ways to cut back on SNAP recipients' access to junk foods like chips, candy, and soda, ensuring the federal program's dollars only goes towards healthy options. Miranda Gray with Vermont's Department for Children and Families says the state is getting hundreds of millions of federal dollars to improve Vermont's health, but if they don't try to implement the junk food restriction on 3Squares, they could lose some of that funding.
This was one of the areas that we had talked about, and upon receiving those funds have said, really, okay, we need to move this forward and really look and see what could make sense here in Vermont.
But that consideration quickly led to strong critiques from hunger relief advocates in the state.
We don't need restrictions like this that show people that the government doesn't trust them with the best choices for themselves.
That includes Carrie Stoller with the Vermont Food Bank, who argues a few points, saying there's no research proving the restriction would improve health outcomes, and healthier food options are more expensive and difficult for low-income individuals to purchase. That's why she thinks the real solution is giving more support to incentive programs like Crop Cash, which matches people's 3Squares benefits dollar for dollar to help them buy local produce.
Almost every year, NOFA Vermont, who runs that program, runs out of money for that program because so many people want to access it. Telling people that they can't buy a candy bar is not a way to make eggs more affordable.
While those arguments exist, some think an unhealthy food ban wouldn't be much of a sacrifice to make, including Governor Phil Scott.
I don't think it's asking too much to not allow certain foods and drinks to be part of 3Squares.
The debate is sure to continue next month when Vermont DCF plans to open a month-long public comment window to hear from Vermonters and stakeholders on what they should do. And Stoller shared some other perspectives too, saying this would create a situation where SNAP benefits in the Northeast are very different state to state, and that this would go against Vermont's values when it comes to personal choice. So far, 18 other states have adopted or are looking into similar bans in the past year, both blue and red states. About 65,000 Vermonters currently use 3Squares. Reporting live in the newsroom, Matt Holderman, ABC 22 News.